mangy dogs, swab the decks and hoist the sails. The guns on board be needing some proper manning. Pieces of 8 and a fine wench on your arm, if your work be not too shoddy. Careful not to flounder too badly, though, or you may have to dance the hempen jig as we see you to Davy Jones. Jeffy, my boy, on with the show.
Welcome, everybody, friends, folks, foes, and fellow pirate mateys, to our latest weekly edition of Pirate Radio Podcast. It's a special feature presentation. The Dalai Lama's 90th birthday. Quite a milestone for the Dalai Lama. So before we get to his bio and the show description end of things, let us remind you that I myself, as always, am your trusty host and companion, Robin Hood's Chief Communications Officer, Jeffy Ryder. WPRPN.com is the website. If you want to drop by, take a look at, sign up as free. All you simply need is a username, password, and email address. Be sure as well to take a look at the show description end of things. Lots of really helpful, intriguing, colorful social media URLs, links, and the like related to the network and the enterprise that we are the flagship to here, essentially, folks. That's how it works. So we got a Patreon presence. We have online merchandise courtesy of galacticfire.com, Teespring, and TeePublic. Always open to more creative suggestions as well. So our PayPal, Pirate One Radio at protonmail.com. One more time, Pirate One Radio at protonmail.com. That's the numeral 1. Also, if you have any show suggestions or guest ideas, that's the way to do it. Go about doing things. Hit us up through that email, and chances are you'll end up hearing your guest of suggestion, or who it is that you'd like to see featured here one of these weeks. So as we sail along via these high, often all too intrepid digital seas, liking, commenting, sharing, remembering to hit the subscription notification buttons, always very much appreciated. We depend on your support. It is a big deal to us, of course. We run strictly out of pocket here. So, and in the red is not any place we like to be. Trust me. So, passing word on to friends, family, and coworkers. Let's not forget about that. Always really proves to be quite powerful, effective means of getting the word out there. So, all right, episode number 350. How's that for a nice round number? The Dalai Lama's 90th birthday. His Holiness Tenzin Gyatso, the 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet, was born July 6th, 1935. Whether an undying admirer or not, few will deny he's clearly led an exceptional life. Over the course of his now 90 years, he's influenced the world in a whole variety of areas: spiritual leadership, a Nobel Peace Prize, advocacy for Tibetan rights, promotion of human values, cultural preservation, education initiatives, scientific engagement, books, and teachings. These achievements reflect his commitment to promoting peace, compassion, and coexistence in a world more often ruled by conflict, confusion, and strife. So there we go, folks. That's it, I guess, as far as the introductory bio rundown. Essentially, a lot more people can find out about him uh, via the interwebs, of course, and we're going to get into a lot more of that as the show goes on. Oh, hang on. Hold the phone. We just found the second part of what we put together as copy, as it were, for today's uh, feature show. However, his legacy has not been without its shortcomings. While singing the man's praises, we'll therefore equally be taking him to task. Uh-oh. Not to mention, or rather, not to the extreme, the CCP, Chinese Communist Party, have proven themselves to be, but critical nonetheless. Political Marxism, COVID hysteria, the Club of Rome's phony green agenda, sexual scandals involving high-profile teachers, and most recently a 2023 underage tongue-sucking incident seen around the world, as if he wasn't aware of all the cameras and eyes that were upon him at that very moment. It would have been, in my opinion, a whole lot different if that had been occurred in behind closed doors and secretly filmed, as it were. But I mean, it's just a real head scratcher nonetheless. There are clearly many sides to the man, the burden of his title, and what it means to be widely seen as the living embodiment of the Buddha. If only each of us could walk just a mile in his saintly 90-year-old shoes. So put yourself in his shoes, folks. Just imagine what it would be like. I think in fact, the other day we heard him comment on how peculiar it was even for him to sometimes wake up and reflect upon his life as this important, largely a spiritual figure, inspiration, influence, as it were. So, someone that's just had such a long-lasting, reverberating, I would argue, largely positive impact and effect on the world and its people. So, there we go. We've actually, now I'm not sure how much either of our wingmen this week, who have dropped in and connected with us here of their own free will and accord, what sort of grasp they have on Tibetan Buddhism or the Dalai Lama, his personal story as it is and as it's played out throughout, down through the years. But Roger Hansen and Mark of Rodriguez Productions, thank you so much to both of you. Without your support and backing this go round, it would be a lot different show. Largely just me here trying to, as best I could, carry on a stream of consciousness, entertaining and informing listeners regarding these, the life and legacy of the man. So thanks to both of you for connecting.
Thanks for having me in.
All right.
Same here.
Yeah, good stuff. So is there anything that you'd like to, as far as just getting the ball rolling, do you know anything then about the Dalai Lama? I mean, are you, either of you, probably the first I ever heard of him. It's interesting. Like so many people, I was just thinking about this earlier today too. What a coup it was, a publicity coup. And even though allegedly it's not a movie that he's ever seen, not to this point at least, anything that's the case. Not sure he ever will. But Caddyshack and the scene with Bill Murray referencing the Dalai Lama. We were just kids, of course, seeing this, and we thought it was hilarious. We may have just vaguely heard of him at that point, but it was. I mean, what a brilliant scene that was. Gunga Galunga is a big hitter, the Lama. So you both have seen Caddyshack, presumably.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, with Dalai Lama though, that was always his message. It was more of a don't take life so serious. You know what I mean? Like, there's always a time to where you can sit back and enjoy and have fun and joke. Just that was one thing he was really that was really important to him.
He's always been very playful, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So, and back in 2023, maybe a little too playful and silly, So that one unfortunate incident, just a terrible, something that it was so easy for his detractors to jump all over. And because the Christian, for example, not only CCP, the Chinese Communist Party contingents, but also I think there's a lot of Christian, so-called Christian, like the evangelical crowd and just the extreme fundamentalists that are not fans of him in any way whatsoever. So, and that's the way it usually goes. Anytime somebody messes up in the slightest, you'll have your political enemies want to jump all over the incident or whatever, maybe misquote or where someone has basically tripped up and just people's shortcomings are easy to criticize, I suppose. So whatever form they take, but always so playful. He's been known to be that way for years, and that was, I think, one of the things that's made him so endearing and it's very seductive. The charm offensive, but that's central to his religion, as it were, is happiness. And the fact is, he wants everybody to be happy, not just him, but everybody. And that's, I guess, maybe where more like the Buddhist psychology comes into play, how we can approach that to achieve those goals. Do you know how that's done, either of you? Do you have any ideas?
Supposed to smile.
Yeah. Okay, and
think positively. Do positive stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
Here, stuff like be nice to your neighbors and do things out of the kindness of your heart without taking responsibility for it. Like, do something for somebody without them knowing who did it. Things like that.
Okay. But what I was thinking, that's all. That's fine and dandy. That's great. But I think, like, more than anything, it starts with extinguishing desire.
Oh, God. Good luck with that one.
Well, you see, because if we constantly are wanting this or not wanting that,
yeah,
like, and we're attached to it, like, can you can imagine the sort of problems that creates, right? Problems that arise.
Kind of goes back to what me and you always end up talking about, and that's samsara and the hungry ghost. A lot of people overlook that, and they don't realize that that's what that's about. People who have those desires and they want more and more and more, they're never fulfilled.
Yeah.
And whenever they die, that's what they sometimes become, is a hungry ghost.
Right. Yeah. So lose your desire, I guess, is part of it. And it's kind of I think it dovetails nicely with the teachings of the Stoics, which is something quite similar. In fact, that's said to be the mark of a true Aryan. And when I say that, I mean in the classic, the ancient Aryan sense, not what the Nazis sort of hijacked. You know, trying to frame it and you know, push it off or to sell it off to the world as strictly on racial, ethno-racial grounds, but it's more a question of character than anything. That a genuine, true Aryan is always content with their circumstances, whatever it is that they have, right? Rather than wanting more or less, wanting to push things away, or to feed, as you say, like their desires, the hungry ghost. That they can maybe just work on cultivating contentment, inner contentment, and with that comes peace, obviously. So, yeah, it's just amazing though, looking at the world and the way so many people are caught up in the material realm, materialist, the ensnares of material desires, and the problems that arise from that. So, but all right. So, Mark, have you seen Caddyshack, or do you have anything more to add to
it's been
things?
years since I've seen Caddyshack, but yeah, I mean, years and years since I've seen Caddyshack. But he's been on a lot of other things too. You know, he sure has done a lot of things, but I think a lot of awards and things like that he's got have been taken over by the NWO and been corrupted. You know, like the Nobel Peace Prize and things like that.
You think so with that? I mean,
I do. I really do.
There's other examples you could probably use.
Come on now. How can Obama get that? All right.
Oh well, that's yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, being some of the Bushes, I think, got it too.
No. They got no peace. But you're right. With Obama, did nothing except for smile and look good.
But
right, tint of skin pigmentation.
But I don't know if in order to be in that crowd, all right, that they had to be part of some sort of secret society in order to get into it or get those awards. But it's looking more and more like that, and I question that all the time. Oh, this person won this award.
Yeah.
Why?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, he is,
and did it's not that, and did they really deserve it, or was it were there other folks that were passed over that really could have used that award, or that but that's just me.
Well, no, that's fine, but I have a rebuttal.
The thing
to that,
the thing
the Peace
that
Prize.
I agree with the Dalai Lama is, yes, I do believe in reincarnation. All right.
Well, why is that?
Okay. Huh?
Why?
That's part of my beliefs. I believe that you can go up the ladder, but you can't go down the ladder, and you're stuck at the same level until you learn the lessons that you need to learn to become an ascended master.
Why? Oh, are you saying are you a theosophist then?
Yeah, that's my that's my theosophical belief.
So have you read the works of Blavatsky? Are you?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've read a lot of different works all over.
You don't think she was a fraudster or a charlatan in any way?
No. Well, some things yes, and some things no. Same with Rasputin. And
Oh my
Rasputin
God.
had some good things, and then hey, if you look at hey, sex magic is what Rasputin was really about.
Is it? Well, that's kind of redundant, isn't it? How is sex not magic? You're making something out of nothing.
But we're just because even the bad guys get it right sometimes, because you have to be right sometimes to be believed. All right.
Yeah.
But you need to know what you're believing in, and that's where
and our sure, and our beliefs,
you can't put your faith into and beliefs into something that you can't somewhat prove, and there have been cases that you can prove.
With reincarnation, absolutely. For sure.
So I go along with that for that reason.
Okay, just getting everything adjusted here, the levels and whatnot. Just folks out there who are listening, let you know what how things are shaping up on this end. We got the Facebook end of the operation's been handled and addressed. Launching Telegram at the moment. We're going to you're going to be seeing a little more action from us via the camera end of things. People sometimes get a little bored, as it were. They want a little more that eye candy.
I'm streaming you also over on Kick, DLive, Twitch, and Beam.
Oh, good stuff.
And I got 20 people in Kick right now.
Excellent. Big shout out to our listeners.
All set up. I've seen some folks in there, so I said, this is a great time to restream this show with me in it.
Excellent. Well, and so there's a few things, like the thing is, there's so much to cover. His Nobel Peace Prize, I believe, was wholly deserved. Wholly deserved. He is the head. He was the burden of his title has been, to be the Dalai Lama, I don't think has been the easiest of roles to perform, frankly. And he works hard at it. From what I understand, he's up at 3 or 4 in the morning and very committed all down through the years to prayers and chanting for, in support of, toward the really one of the aims, the goals in Buddhism is the alleviation of suffering. I think if there's one thing we can hopefully all agree upon, it's that this world is filled with suffering. We have too much of it. So if there's anything that we can do, even if in the smallest way, to address that and help make the world a better place, starting with the change that comes from within, obviously, lest it be a case of the blind leading the blind. We should definitely do what we can in that regard. Idiot compassion, however, is something that we are warned, something that we should not eagerly or actively embrace. We should be on the lookout for, basically. Idiot compassion. And that's where you have things like skillful means and practical wisdom come into the picture. It doesn't even have to be Buddhism. It just, in a secular sense, you're practicing skillful means and practical wisdom. They're like the two wings of the bird, as they say. That's it. There's no Buddha or nothing. No Dalai Lama or anything. Just the two wings of the bird. But it's our choice if we want to do that or not. Most people don't even know. Like, if they want to help alleviate not only their suffering, but ultimately that of others. That's one of the big secrets. So we're throughout the course of our daily lives to embrace and then practice those two strategies.
Well, I guess that can alleviate some of the karma if you've, accrued or accumulated bad karma. You could take and, alleviate, your own or someone else's.
I don't know about somebody. Well, you could help to steer them so that they can avoid
by helping them,
by not messing up.
Them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what
Yeah. Well, that the yin and yang.
Well, you could help to steer them
with,
so that they can avoid. Stand by. Had to deal with the telegram there momentarily, and we're off. So go ahead.
Yeah, and it looks like you have an update. But anyways,
update.
Yeah, I believe, for every positive, there's a negative and vice versa. And, so the balance is what you're trying to go to.
Do you know what the word...
never get... Yeah.
Go ahead.
Now, if you can find true balance, then, you're good to go, I guess, right? But who can never do that? Because it takes a perfect person or a perfect being to do true balance.
Okay, but the argument is that the seed of perfection resides within us, and that the secret is for us to cultivate that inner perfection. In a sense of the metaphor, the image that's often used is the lotus flower rising from out of the mud, from the muck and the mire.
Well, don't get me started.
Yeah, well,
get me started.
Well, no, you've started, I think, a long time ago, doing a great job on your own.
The lotus. Okay, this is where people have a hard time with it, and they don't want to admit it. A lot of these religions consist of ancient alchemy. And when I talk about alchemy, I'm not talking about the philosopher's stone, which, by the way, I want to point out is called the philosopher's stone. It's not called the transmutation stone. It's not called the turn metal into gold stone. It's called the philosopher's stone. And these ideas come from ancient philosophers, okay, who eventually did such a great job with what they believed in that it was incorporated into these religions. So with the lotus, you have to ask yourself questions. Why is it that Buddha is sitting in the lotus position? Okay, what does the lotus stand for?
Okay. Well, it's the circuit, the circulation, circumambulation, I guess, just the flow of energy throughout the body.
That's very esoteric. That meaning is very esoteric. The lotus has to do with two things: sex magic, like what Mark was just alluding to, and you were, and it also has to do with like what you were talking about the other night with rebirth. Okay, and there's a lot of these ancient alchemical forms of symbolism that's in religion and that nobody picks up on. Okay, that's what I get whenever I talk. You had to get started on that lotus.
Well, it was bound. It's these talking points are bound to come up eventually, especially within the context of what we're looking at this week. Is Holiness, the Dalai Lama's 90th birthday, quite a milestone. And here's the kicker, folks. A lot of people out there listening might not have heard of this, but well, they haven't chosen a successor. It has now been established, much to the chagrin and ire of Beijing, the CCP, that he will be reborn. where and when exactly is yet to be determined, but China will have nothing to do with that. And in fact, I think they even, they flip-flop for people who've been watching things, paying close attention. First, I believe they outlawed reincarnation. I think that's what I heard a number of years ago. They say, oh, it's got to, okay, we're outlawing it. It's just, yeah, it's banning this. And now they've gone so far as to set up total opposite extreme. They've set up reincarnation training camps across China, so that they can actively work on producing their version of who the Dalai Lama is. So they already kidnapped the Panchen Lama back in 1995, and I hate to think what became of him. Poor little boy. Just terrible. No. And there are different. They have, each has a different title, but each also serves different functions. At least that's the way things are prescribed. I think the Panchen Lama is more, in fact, worldly and temporal, like the real political power. I hope I don't have that. I hope I don't have that flipped around or contrary to what it should be, and that the Dalai Lama is the spiritual head. So it's quite, as these things can be, there's a long history and it can be quite confusing, of course, but there are signs and omens and augurs, and there are ways of deciphering and determining who the rightful successor will be. Speaking of omens and augurs, I actually had a dream about the Dalai Lama and being accompanied by a number of monks, and they just kind of entered into my, came into view via the dreamscape environment as it was being perceived at the time. And at first he didn't quite see me, but then he circled around and there was the eye contact made, and as if a recognition and a knowing, because I think the way he approaches in meeting anyone is as if it's an old friend, someone that he's known before. If you listen to what the way he's laid it out through the years, that's pretty much it. And that all kind of falls into line with the Namaste philosophy, essentially, that the Hindus, the Indians practice, that they acknowledge and recognize the divinity, the divine spark within the other, the Namaste. So, and we just, our foreheads met. It's, I think, what the Tibetans refer to as the meeting of two minds, and it was just quite wonderful. I didn't give him a white scarf, though. That was unfortunate. Maybe we can metaphorically, and that's, that with the show that we're doing here, we can visualize it as representing, symbolizing the proverbial white scarf, which is tradition as to how, when in meeting a Rinpoche or Lama, that's just the protocol, essentially. I think, and then you put one around their neck, and then they give one to you, and there you go. So I've had that actually happen once or twice back in the day, my university days, when, for those of you who are curious, interested, that's how I first really, in this life, came into contact and came to know, perhaps re-know, or recollect Buddha Dharma. So Victoria University days, and it was through a newspaper, college newspaper ad talking about Buddhist philosophy, basically. And it's like, I looked at it and I said, yeah, I want to know more about this, because I'd heard about Buddhism and didn't really know too much. And turned out these people were students of the late, I think he was late at that time, he just recently passed away, Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche. And just made a good connection. I was very interested in what they had to lay out and present, and just standard sort of stuff, basically, as far as the teachings and the Four Noble Truths, the Three Poisons, the Five Skandhas. These are even though there are different types of Buddhism, the Theravadan being the oldest, the original, and then the Mahayana, the newer type, which arose during the Axial Age, and that which coincided. It's all religious syncretism too, folks. Frankly, the mixing and mingling and coexisting and influencing of one another from the time of Alexander the Great to Ashoka, all the way to Christ, of course, and then to Mani, another great religious, now largely forgotten figure. He was a Persian prophet, as memory serves. Manichaeism is something to really think about. I think, Roger, you know a thing or two about that, but quite a history there. It was a great time, experience. It's the memories of the university days, and how life is what happens while you're busy making other plans. Life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans. John Lennon, I think, is Beautiful Boy. I think, is that the song, So it's so true, though. Life really is what happens to us while we're busy making other plans, But the time, space, I don't know if you call it continuum necessarily, what have you. It's Alpha, Omega, and the Tibetans. You talk about alchemy earlier, of course, and transmutation. So just the endless working with energy. I'm no expert in this field either, folks, so don't take my word for it. Talk to the real teachers out there who have done the heavy lifting. So, but energy work is really central, definitely. A lot of visualization and just different techniques of meditation you can practice too. Meditation versus medication is how I like to put it. We should, I think, really think about that, or at least, or if not, use meditation as a supportive means, ancillary, trying to keep the words, so just a couple syllables here if we can manage, but supplemental means, I guess, is a supportive means to, if one need be on some medication for whatever reason, stress related or what have you, depression. So, but there's a reason those two words are so similar, meditation and medication. It's the one syllable, the T and the C. And this portion of our special feature of celebrating and marking the 90th year birthday of the Dalai Lama coming to an end here in 10 minutes or so. Roger, Mark, anything more you'd like to add to that? I could go on just at great length, and I'm always working on trying to stay as best focused as I can without too many non sequiturs, jumping and skipping around a little too much, so people end up getting lost. in the flow of things. Big shout out to Sonia Galactic, though. Let's not forget about her. And not sure who else we have. A lot of lurkers, as always. Digging the background music is what she says. So, hey, that's cool. Good to hear, Sonia. But lurkers, do sign in. Share your comments. Let you know your thoughts. Any questions you may have, of course. Same with both you, Mark, and Roger. I mean, there's so much to cover here, frankly, both the good and the bad. And as I said, I will happily, because I believe it's important to have an open, honest dialogue. And if people cannot handle that, then, you know, clearly we have a problem. Cult of personality is an issue for anyone. For anyone. The Dalai Lama, myself, Jordan Peterson, Roger, Mark, anyone. It doesn't matter, you know. Tim Pool, Noam Chomsky, who else can we? Just anyone that's in the public's eye, as it were. And people, we can't. You know, we have to stay critically engaged. And as we touched on earlier, the Dalai Lama, his charm level, the charm offensive and charisma, really, that he has, is off the charts, is what it would seem, you know. So I really wonder about his aura too. If anyone claims to ever have seen his aura, Van Morrison was the only person in my life that I can confidently and honestly say that was the case, where I turned around at the Chase Hotel, is what it was known as. What a name for a fan, hey? Out on the road, trying to track down one of his musical idols, Van Morrison, at the Chase Hotel. And turned around, and there he comes walking in, and this burst of light energy around his head and shoulders, like a clear light. It was really amazing, you know, and it just helped confirm for me even more, like, this guy, there's something going on here. He's a real, he's, you know, dare I say, holy person. He wanted to be a monk back in the day. Sir Ivan, the Belfast cowboy Morrison. And by the way, speaking of which, before I forget, we are planning on putting together a special commemorative. Don't you do that when people have died? But a tribute, kind of like what we're doing this week with His Holiness. But a tribute to the life and career, the work of Van Morrison, who will be turning 80 this August. So when I get back from Canada, that's one of the first shows we'll be doing in, mid to late August. Gentlemen, we only have a few minutes here. Fly at it, if you would, please. I'll try to straighten out the camera while we're doing that.
I had to run and get coffee, so I'm kind of loss of information here. So,
Well,
you guys still talking about love magic?
No, but you are.
Oh yeah,
Now,
I am.
That's one thing. See, that's one thing with the Tantric. See, Tantric and Vajrayana is an offshoot of Mahayana. First was Theravadan, and then came, during the Axial Age, several hundred years later, during the time of Christ, because Buddhism originated around 550 years BC, and came, it came in the form of what's known as Theravada, the way of the elders, and that's largely, it's like South Asian Buddhism, Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, places like that, Sri Lanka. Southern Buddhism. Northern Buddhism is what we have in here, in Korea, And by the way, many people love the Dalai Lama in Korea. I talk to my students about him from time to time, and I'll be sure to, this will be a conversation sort of talking point that we'll be covering when I connect with them later this week. So, but he's, well, there are many people that would love to have him visit Korea, that he's yet to be able to do so. It's a politically touchy issue, and do you know why that is? By the way, I've got something to add to this too, but go ahead. Does either of you know why that is? It's politically? Yeah, why? Any idea?
It would most likely be because of Tibet, what happened there.
Well, because of China.
Oh, yeah, exactly. When they invaded Tibet, you know.
Well, have you made that connection? Because so few people, they're just clueless. They don't understand that there was a Korean War, right? Do you know what year that was?
Oh, God. I know this.
Maybe Mark?
I know.
Go ahead.
Back in the 50s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It ended in 54.
53.
53 and 54,
but it didn't,
something like that?
Yeah, it still hasn't ended, apparently.
Right. Well, I mean, that's when we left. 54.
Yeah. Oh, and it was just it was always temporary police action too. Don't forget, it wasn't a war. It was a police action. That's the way they framed it. But there was a much larger region that led to the death of around just as many people, about 1 million, give or take. Who knows how many? It's probably higher than that even on both counts. But what other Asian country at that time was invaded by Mao's People's Liberation Army, the PLA?
Tibet.
Yeah. See, most people, you ask them that question, and they just they're like, well, like they just come up with the silliest of Japan, Malaysia, so, but it's like a big magic trick, and it worked really well, the misdirection, and so Mao, in that sense, as he was a total maniac, obviously, psychopath, as tends to be the case, with what power does to people, unfortunately. But the misdirection, total misdirection, where the whole world ended up being focused and fixated with Korea, and then quietly just all these troops were sent westward into Tibet to take care of the dirty work, to liberate the country from its feudalistic overlords. So, and keep in mind that Mao was hell-bent on destroying everything old. It had to be, if it's ancient or old or had any legacy value whatsoever, it had to be destroyed. It was called the Four Olds, the campaign that they ran. And it really got bad during the Cultural Revolution. That's really things really went awry, and in Tibet, with the looting of the monasteries, so much of the wealth and resources, and who knows, like with the manuscripts, of course, books that went back to Beijing and elsewhere.
What I would have liked to know too is, during World War II, Japan went into Tibet as well. They invaded all the way into Tibet.
Did they?
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea.
And I wanted to know, and it's not well known.
No.
All right.
I didn't even know that.
What they took, what they installed while they were there before they left. No wonder the Chinese wanted to go in there.
What do you mean? What did they install?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the whole question.
Well, I don't know.
That was the question. What did they put there? What did they leave there? Because the Japanese, the Japanese were terrible during World War II. When they went into Korea, I'm sure your wife will tell you that they would go in there into the rice fields and nail in iron posts into the rice fields, which would poison the rice and kill the people eventually or quickly,
Oh,
when I was stationed over there a couple times, not stationed, but I got to go on a few excursions to South Korea, and I heard that from the locals. I'm like, wow, I didn't know that.
Salting.
They don't teach you that in school.
You know about...
So what did they do in Tibet?
I have no idea.
And what kind of relationship did Tibet have with Japan?
That's a good question.
Because Tibet really wasn't like a wartime nation.
It was caught in the middle of a major...
It was caught in the middle, and on top of that, they probably had a lot of food that could support the Japanese army.
There was a power vacuum.
Like or they also had minerals there.
Oh, sure. Of course.
Yeah, because we all know that, up in those mountains now, I'm sure that, there have been lots of iron, coal, and whatever else,
It could have been something they were doing concerning religion and stuff too, because Tibet is it's a holy place.
Right. But in the Japanese, the Shinto and the Buddhists isn't that part of Shinto is part of the Buddhist belief?
Well,
all right.
It's different. It's totally distinct.
It's an offshoot, but
yeah.
But it would be close enough to relate to them, right?
Right. Now they blended together to create what Japanese call Buddhism. Like when Buddhism came to Japan, it was kind of like a hand in a glove fitting hand.
Shotoku,
perfectly.
Way back, Prince Shotoku.
They just kind of perfect. They were perfect for one another.
The Soka clan, man. It came very close to where I'm situated here, talking to you from via Korea, the peninsula, the linchpin to the region, geopolitically. Very, not too far from where I'm currently situated is where it all played out way back in the day, with the royal family being put on the run by the Shila. So it was the Gaia, Shila, and Pekche. So Pekche fell, and Shila, the Pekche royals were put on the run. Shotoku, their family was finally driven out of the country, and they went all the way around over to Japan, and that's where they'd set up shop in promoting, promulgating, spreading Buddhism. Prince Shotoku of the Soka clan, they call him Soka Muni here in Korea, Sakyamuni, Soka, and that's where we get, I do believe, Soktia from the Afghanistan, the Silk Roads. That's what people need to keep their eye on the ball. They've burnt all the history books. They've tried to destroy as much as they could, so that, well, who knows why that's done exactly. You can just imagine, though. People would then eventually just, adopt the politically correct version of history is what they would be forced to believe, rather than what actually had happened. So, our occulted history. And there we go. We are the initial opening portion to this week's tribute to the Dalai Lama. Also, critical look, let's not forget. Quite open to anyone if they'd like to exchange barbs or have things that are not so complimentary to offer, have at it. I'm not, well, political Marxism, he's, I guess, long professed his support for political Marxism. The only thing I can really say to that is that how can you not ignore the fact that such a small portion of the world's population, let's say, 1%, owns and controls 95% of its wealth, resources, and assets. Things very much out of, very disproportionate and unjust, clearly. So there's, as far as redistribution of wealth and resources, if there's more that could be done on that front, probably a good thing. But then again, it is what it is. So we'll maybe reach out, reconnect with the guys here, Roger and Mark, and see what they have to say regarding these matters. Who knows? There might be even another friend of the show or two who will connect with us here, drop in, want to contribute some of their thoughts as to how they feel regarding these matters. So yes, your stream continued, I guess, via your end, but you just lost us here through Teams. So good stuff.
Yeah, that's all. Yep, yep.
All right. So it looks like we got Roger on board once again too. Is that right?
I was able to get you off of stream 2 and was able to get that onto the simulcast. So we got your stream going at the same time.
Appreciate that. We just saw a picture there in the slideshow of the Queen and someone who His Holiness had probably met on multiple occasions down through the years. But, for me, what's most interesting in this regard is what another little fun fact here. This is your value-added content for the week. If you're looking for anything in that regard, folks, welcome as well to Yvonne Malenfant via Coquitlam, British Columbia. Get to you momentarily here, Yvonne. Just stand by if you would. But there was a double rainbow. And this kind of dovetails with the whole concept of the rainbow body, which I don't know much about, other than that some esoteric belief that, certain people within the Tibetan tradition hold. And there are different sects, too. That's something we haven't mentioned or hit upon to this point, that there's like the Gelugpa, the Sakya, the Kargu, I think, is it Drupa? I don't know, these multiple Tibetan sects too, the red hats, the black hats, the yellow hats, so each with their own unique history and style, flair, and favor. But there's a double rainbow upon her passing, Queen Elizabeth. Did any of you hear about that? Where did it appear? Right over Buckingham Palace. Arnold Palmer as well, the former PGA great. Might have just been a coincidence, but upon his passing, right in the vicinity of where his funeral was taking place, I guess, that there was this giant rainbow that emerged from out of nowhere. Could have just been a coincidence, but hey, welcome, Yvonne. Glad you can make it. What happened the other day? Were you peeved, or was there technical problems? Did you have scheduling, conflict?
Not at all. No, I had to go. Sorry, I meant to say bye. I didn't want to interrupt the flow. No, I had to get going. That's all. Sorry, I couldn't stay too long. Excuse me. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
No, I'm not angry.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm just always sensitive to that sort of thing with anybody. It's like, geez, they're even having technical problems. They're pissed, or there's like scheduling,
Yeah, I mean,
matters they have to take care of.
Yeah,
Except
sorry
for me. Except for me.
I wasn't assuming. I was just it could be this, that, or the other. I don't know. So that's why I asked you. But
if I was pissed, I would tell you.
That's the way we are, right? We were like, we're like, look, man, like this is not cool. You should maybe think about this. It's like, oh, and I like to think I'm rational enough where it's like, okay, I'll listen to what this person says, reflect.
No, you're cool. Yeah. No, it's like a certain time. I'm like, oh, right, I got this to do, and that was interesting. Got to go now. I should have said bye. I'm sorry.
Don't worry about it.
I just didn't want to interrupt the flow.
Yeah. Bring your camera down a little bit if you could there, please, just to get your mug a little better centered, and I'll do the same here myself. So,
don't go too far down.
Right. Okay, so Yvonne, while we've got you here, let's hear your thoughts and your take, the legacy, the history of the Dalai Lama, good, bad, and otherwise. We've covered as much as we could during the first.
What happened with the Dalai Lama?
It's his 90th birthday.
Oh, I thought maybe he died or something. Okay.
Well,
he turned 90. Cool.
The kill shots are probably killing him.
Guy.
Oh, really? So the tongue sucking thing with the kid, that was not enough to completely turn you off and cast him aside.
90 years, little tongue sucking.
What was that? He doesn't tongue suck every child he comes into contact with, does he?
Only Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays.
Yeah. Well, a lot. Do you know the story? My take. Do you know the story about that whole tongue thing with Tibetans? Why, they will do that quite a lot. No idea. There was this ancient king who was really bad, bad former Tibetan ruler. They poisoned him, and his tongue ended up being black, really, really black, and from the poison. So apparently, the story goes, it's a long-standing tradition and take on things. That's why Tibetans do that, because when they greet you, it's a friendly greeting to show that, I'm not that king. I wasn't reborn with that mark, with because reincarnation, right? We've talked a little bit about reincarnation to this point, and let's not forget Jesus Christ himself 35 times, I believe, if you look it up. And this has nothing to do with the Gnostics or anything, which you can trust me, there's a lot more there to be seen and reflected upon. But within the standard, I guess, King James, that 35 times born again, it jumps out at us. And so it seems to be kind of an important concept or idea that he was trying to communicate to anyone who would listen. Of course, and for me, it's quite obvious what he was going on about. But every different sect has its interpretation or spin, its way of kind of dissecting and looking at that, right? So, what do you believe that Christ was in any way influenced by Buddhism, Mahayana Buddhism at that time, potentially?
No, I don't.
They were foreign teachings. You know that.
I think rebirth is to do with being born of the blood and being born of the spirit. It's just a rebirth of the spirit filling a person upon conversion. That's all it is. It's not reincarnation. You're reading into it.
Oh yeah, I see. So here and now, basically, you can be born again here and now in the spirit and blood. Is it spirit and blood? Is that how it goes? Of Christ?
Well, you're born of water. You're born, there's liquid coming out. Okay, and then you're born a spirit is when the Holy Spirit quickens you and you come alive.
Quickens.
Christ.
Quickens.
That conversion.
Quickens. I see.
And no, I believe Jesus was influenced by a lot of Egyptian culture because he lived there as a child.
He was missing for 18 years too, right?
He's not missing. He's a carpenter.
Oh, right.
Bad. I don't think he. I don't think he traveled. Like, people didn't travel much back then. You know,
well,
that's a wet dream.
Do you know who? Well,
he somehow took off to India. In what language is he speaking? I mean, how is he going to speak to people?
Aramaic and Koine Greek.
Well, Aramaic was very popular. That's true.
Koine.
And so was Greek. But to go all the way to India, you know, Greek ends near the Indian border. Doesn't go much further.
Let me lay this on you. Have you? Okay, who was his uncle? Who was only mentioned once, I guess, in the Synoptics. Who claimed the body of Christ after he's said to have passed?
Joseph of Arimathea.
Yeah, and he was a poor man, Joseph of Arimathea.
No, he's very wealthy.
Right.
He wasn't his uncle.
Oh, really?
Where did he get that idea?
Well, that's my understanding. It was his uncle. Anyways, we'll leave that aside. The uncle business.
His uncle.
Well,
he was
presumably
he was a religious class in the Sanhedrin.
Sanhedrin, yes. Nicodemus apparently too, right? Sanhedrin.
He was a Pharisee, I think.
Anyways, so and Mary of Magdalene, she was. Do you know that they found temples? Like, this is all part of the apocalypse, really, which, as you're probably aware, it means revealing or unveiling, right? Pulling back what has up until now been occulted. It can also, I guess, there's also the tumultuous conflict and the turmoil that you can read that into it as well. But with the light
into it, yeah.
I mean, both
apocalypse
ways.
just means revealing,
pulling back.
And in apocalyptic literature is a certain genre of literature of the day.
Right.
Books like Daniel and Revelation of Jesus Christ and others were apocalyptic literature. It's not hidden. Like, it's not like occultic or anything.
Well, the Gospel of Thomas was the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Gnostic Gospels. They had to be hidden.
Well,
if they weren't burnt and destroyed.
That was later, though. What he's saying is during that time period, it was open to everybody to read it. But like whenever they started canonizing the Christian Bible, that's when things were made illegal and things had to be hidden.
Orthodox versus heretical. Right. Do you know what the word heretical means? Anybody? Heretical? Means to choose. Hetesis. To choose. Like, can you believe people actually had they were denying people the freedom to choose? So, and that they were driven underground, and yeah, they had to hide these heretical teachings, these traditions. The Gnostics, and the people, the Dead Sea Scroll, the Essene community, like, it was very rich, and like even the Synoptics, they talk about what these different sects. You got the Pharisees, Sadducees. They don't talk about the Essenes, but the Zealots, and so on and so forth. So, anyways, but I and the Father are one. More to the point, then we got to get back to the Dalai Lama. I and the Father are one. I mean, I think we have maybe a different way of looking at that. Yvonne, what's your take on that? When Christ was saying, "I and the Father are one," and they did crucify him on the grounds of committing blasphemy, correct? That how dare you say you are God, or something to that effect? Is that right?
Well, he says, "I and the Father are one." He's claiming to be God and the Messiah.
He was
God in flesh. Yeah.
Well, to me, my take on that, it's Eastern non-duality. Okay, just different interpretation.
Well, just saying he's God. You know, the Word became flesh, pitched his tent and dwelt among us.
That's John. Gospel of John, yes.
John 1.
Yeah. Well, the logos is a powerful concept. I'm down with the whole logos business, because if you look at that, what cosmos, right? The cosmos. It's like, wow, time and space, cosmos. And the logos is kind of like the Dharma in the Eastern tradition, or the Tao. It's, see, when Buddhism made its way to the East through the, during the Han Dynasty and the Silk Roads, and the Nestorians you've heard of the Nestorians, I guess, right? Yeah, they were really important. They were instrumental. Check out the Jesus Sutras if you ever get the chance. They were hidden, more occulted literature, hidden for over like 1,000 years behind this, in this, at the Dunhuang on the Silk Roads, which some people listening may be aware of. Look it up, the Jesus Sutras, Dunhuang, and you can really see, as with the Gospel of Thomas, the Taoist influence, if you read that. But the I and the Father are one. It's time and space as an illusion. You know, the kingdom of God, Christ himself talked about it. It's here and now. He's like, oh, look, it's low. Oh, it's over there. It's here. It's there. No, it's like, it's here now. It's always been with us, and it'll never be any different. We can't be separate from it. It's inherent within all things, especially sentient, things with conscious faculties, basically. So, yeah. But
we can disagree. That's fine. Listen, I got fish I'm cooking here. I got to get to.
You got fish? Fish. What?
Soul.
Oh, I see. But as far as the Dalai Lama goes, you're okay with him and his career, his legacy, basically.
Well, he's kind of creepy, but
Oh, come on! Why?
Well, no, that whole tongue thing is kind of weird
because of that one.
But let me mention this. You know how they got the name the Dalai Lama, right?
Let's hear it again.
You know the etymology?
Refresh me.
Well, apparently Genghis Khan was conquering Asia.
Right.
And he went up into Tibet and met the person who was the Dalai Lama, like, at the time. And he actually named the person the Dalai Lama, which means ocean of wisdom.
Right.
And so that's the beginning of the Dalai Lama,
Named by Genghis Khan?
Yeah, his religious leaders, yeah.
They had a close relationship for me. That is true. I got to get up to speed. It was quite profound and it's noteworthy.
Okay, I got to go. Take care. Love ya.
Happy God sailing. Bless. Okay.
Yep. Take care. Thank you.
Songu haseo. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Play hard.
So, okay. There we go. Yvonne on his way out the door. And let's not forget, we'll give him a quick plug here with his consulting services that he offers. I mean, hopefully there's a few people out there, reaching out and taking advantage of this. First 30 minutes, half an hour free with his counseling services. So he's been at that, pastoring and providing spiritual support to many people down through the years, and deserves a lot of credit for that, because once again, like as we've talked about here already, with this issue of working to do what we can to lessen, ameliorate, resolve, the suffering that people endure, and that we're burdened with. And that's where with enlightenment, what is enlightenment? Yeah, is either of you guys, and just simply karma as well too, which is a really straightforward answer, and there's no need to spend a lot of time breaking that one down. So it's a one-word response: karma and enlightenment. Karma is action. Action, but also words, and even on a more subtle level, it seems our thinking. That's why meditation is so critical. We got to get a handle on our monkey mind, as it's known, or mind monkey, if you will. But enlightenment not that I can give the deepest, the fullest, most profound response, but there's two ways of looking at it, as far as I can tell. One is you have the Satori, eureka, as it were, awakening moment, the insight that arises, like, oh man, wow, light bulb. And then secondly is the heaviness on our shoulders. We feel so burdened sometimes, weighed down, the weight of the world. Take the load off Annie. Take the load for free. Take the load off Annie. Take the load, the weight, the band. So come on in, take a load off. So there's two ways. Once again, it's like a psychological, mental phenomenon and way of being, I suppose. And then secondly, it's being weighed down, the weight of the world, which is psychological and spiritual as well. So anyways, either of you have anything to add to that? And let me check out the comment section while I'm bouncing that question off of you. Gentlemen. They're stunned into silence. I think Roger walked away. Each of these.
He's getting coffee.
These bozos are wandering around in the kitchen again.
I was with my kids for a sec.
You're MIA, man.
Enlightenment, huh? To bring delight, to bring into being, to show, because everything else is hidden.
Right. Yeah. There's what. Yeah.
And you can look at that. You can look at that from, the way secret societies and look at it as well. That could be theoretical or philosophical. It's like you're going to enlighten, or sun worship, because enlightenment, because the light of the sun. All right.
Yeah.
The new dawn. Okay. It's Jordan Maxwell coming out of me. All right. He talks a lot about that, and how that, the enlightenment. All right. And then, because everything else is unseen and unknown.
Yeah. So much is, find that to be the case. There's no doubt, clearly.
A lot of fog.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing there, isn't it? The mental confusion. Desmond Tutu, a great old friend, dearly missed and departed. So they'll meet again, surely. They had a very strong karmic connection, His Holiness and Desmond Tutu. Both, very...
But enlightenment can also mean discernment.
Right. That sounds good. Sure. Oh, bloody hell. I'm trying to stay focused here too. So did you hear my response though? The two ways that kind of, and I don't, like it is.
Yeah, you put it in more spiritual terms, and that's just not me. Sorry.
Well, what do you mean? Well, how's it spiritual? What do you mean exactly?
You link it. The way it sounded, coming across, almost sounded like it was a spiritual way of looking at it. I'm like, okay, well, I don't look at it that way. I look at it more of, oh, okay, if it's on the page and it's dark and I put a light on it, well, there I can see it.
Right. You're revealing. Yeah.
Revealing, right.
Sure. Yeah, otherwise it's hidden. It's and that's the thing, the lotus within, right? Never finished this analogy earlier, but the lotus within, and Om Mani Padme Hum, the jewel or gem, I suppose, within the lotus. And that for us, it's a question of doing the work to purify. Look, the Buddha, what did he say? His dying words, essentially, his teachings, what they're said to be, is real simple. Do good, cease evil, purify the mind. That's it. How complicated could that really be?
There's one thing too, though, that you were talking about that kind of goes against a little bit of what I've learned on the suffering part. Suffering is very essential when it comes to the Buddhist thought. You know what I mean? Like, without suffering, there's no purpose
or learning.
Right.
Well, how do we grow?
We have to have trials. In trials with no pain, you don't get as much knowledge or experience or value from.
Or even that, even the ability to reach out and help another human being. Okay, when somebody's in need, you need that suffering so that you can be a better person and kind of evolve. You know what I mean? That's what, especially in Buddhism, what's your purpose? Why are you here? You know what I mean? You're not here to just be happy and have all these great miraculous things happen to you. You're supposed to be able to reach out to your fellow man and do better for them because they're in need, not because you're in need.
I think the way of the elders, though, is mostly they're mostly, the music might be a little loud. We're going to turn that down. They, the Theravada, I think, are more, as the Arhat, they're more focused on doing the work by and for themselves, because it's more problematic as to how they're able to work out your salvation with diligence is what those are attributed to the Buddha as well. Work out your salvation with diligence. Diligence is one of the 6 paramitas. Para, same as English. This is Sanskrit. Para, probably Pali as well, but para as in crossing over or going beyond, right? Paradigm, paranoid, paranormal, and the like. So diligence is one. Purification, the perfection, working constantly. Effort, mindfulness, meditation, patience. Do you know what and these are all steps on the path to wisdom, is how the story goes. Do you know what the first step on the path to wisdom is?
What is it?
No guesses? Mark? No? A little too complicated? Generosity.
Well, generosity, that goes right back to what me and Mark was just saying.
But be careful of the idiot compassion.
And that right there,
when you think about it too, okay, that goes into the virtues.
Yes, virtue is a reward. Virtue is its own reward. How does it go again? Something like patience, generosity is a virtue. Virtue its own reward. Right.
Patience is also a virtue.
Virtue its own reward. Exactly.
Now,
faith is a virtue.
Oh, that's problematic.
In today's world, what they refer to, what you were saying about, is called codependency. Okay.
Idiot compassion.
Idiot compassion.
Yeah, it can be. But the point, just briefly, and I'll hand it back to you. Sometimes what we need is a 2x4 to the karmic 2x4 to the side of the head.
Right.
To wake us up. So let them take the harsh medicine that they need. Skillful means, practical wisdom, hands off. Let them live and learn. School of hard knocks, if that's what's the best way of getting suffering. The optimal end result. Go ahead.
Suffering. You just explained. You just came to the point of suffering. We have to learn through our mistakes so that we can overcome that mistake and do better the next time.
Mistake.
It's a process.
Take 2. Take 3. You're still messing up. Do it again. Take 4. Oh no. It takes sucker for punishment.
When we talk about that, you got to remember the different realms that the Buddhists believe in too. Of course, the end result is selfish because everybody wants to get to that realm of what is it, Diva?
Yeah, but the Bodhisattva, you don't know anything about the Bodhisattva vow?
Well, no.
Okay, so then it's not really selfish, because you're basically taking, it's like Jesus, Yeshua. I was thinking about this the other day. One who saves, right? That's apparently what it means. Didn't get a chance to. I would have liked to have had Yvonne on board a little more, to like a friendly back and forth, debate.
I was wondering what happened there. I stepped away for a little
Oh, he
bit
had to
and
go.
was gone.
He had to go. He had to go fire up his soul.
Oh, okay. He had to go read the Bible.
He's a pretty fire and brimstone kind of guy,
But we got one guy on my show too. Tan's like that.
Tan is he's a cat. He's easygoing Catholic. And fire up his soul. I'm tongue in cheek. There's a fish he had on the grill. So he had to forget it. Fire up his soul.
Yeah.
Hey,
good stuff.
Did you hear about actually the Dalai Lama, the time that he took that part-time job at the pizza shop?
No.
Yeah, actually, I met him there. I walked up to him and said, "Hey, Dalai, make me one with everything. Can you make me one with everything?"
That's horrible.
Hold the pepperoni. but make me one with everything. So, and that's another thing too. It's like through your means, through your own effort, your own striving, or through the prayer, as you say, faith, and maybe calling out to Christ or these celestial beings for assistance. So it's in Korean they say taryok. Taryok is through my own means and effort and striving, and taryok is making it more dependent on, like what I guess the Catholics do. You go in and do your Hail Marys, your confessional booth, and all your sins will be forgiven, and just go out and repeat it again, I guess, and keep coming back for that. That's the ceremonial forgiveness is how they got their system set up, right?
I think, for me personally, I feel that it all relates to the 6 realms of samsara.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I listen to a lot of these New Age people talking about escaping samsara, and I'm like, that. If you believe in those kind of things like Buddhism, and I believe even Hindus believe in samsara too, don't they?
I believe so.
If you believe in that, then that's impossible, because those are realms. Those are realms of existence. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you can't escape that. That's complete nonsense.
What do you mean? That's the whole point. That's the whole point. Buddhism, there's 2 main goals and objectives, as far as I understand. And I might be off, missing the point here, but one is to essentially make friends with ourselves. That's where the yoga comes in, or as Christ talked about, the yoke. The yoking. Internal yoga, maybe the alchemy, or however you want to put it, with the working with the energy and transforming, working with the problems that we have facing us, and problem solving.
You know what the Deva realm is, right?
Is that the same as is that the Asuras? Is it known, or just Devas? What Asuras? No, it's like God realm of some kind, angelic.
Yes, it's the highest realm, and then you have like Anika, and you have the Sagaki.
Anika, that's impermanence.
Mm-hmm.
That's just change, and that's one of the 3 marks of existence: change, suffering, and egolessness in the Buddhist tradition.
Shimbutsu.
That's over in Japan, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep, Shimbutsu Shugo.
That's Tina Turner practiced that. I forget the name of that tradition. These are all like different. It's kind of an offshoot of Mahayana Buddhism. That
it's pretty fascinating stuff, man.
So, and remember, like, what did Nikola Tesla talk about? Speaking of chanting and so forth, or meditation, if you want to know the truth to the universe, just, take time to reflect upon the nature of vibration and frequency. Right?
Pretty cool.
And you know what's interesting? This is an analogy along those lines. This is quite something. I'm telling you folks, the Greco-Buddhist tradition is something that really, if you're interested in comparative religion and ancient history, the axial age, as it was known, and maybe pulling back the layers to the onion, revealing and coming to see so many things that have been hidden and occulted for various reasons. Mostly, it would seem so that people could be endlessly hoodwinked into falsely believing things that clearly are just not true. That seek and you shall find.
It's been amazing me here lately. It's Aphrodite and
Venus.
Aphrodite, Venus. You start looking into her, and especially when it comes to the esoterics, okay, it will blow your mind. Aphrodite goes all the way through it. It goes even to the Buddhist, all the way over in India and all that area.
Aphrodisiac. Let me just hang on a second. The analogy. Don't let me forget about the analogy, and also the embodiment, the earthly. Who's that guy? That old gray-haired grandpa guy with the hands in supplication. So Richard Gere. So now don't let me forget about the analogy I was going to lay out for folks as well. And the Dalai Lama is said to be the earthly, in the Tibetan tradition, he is believed to be the earthly embodiment, manifestation of Chinrezig, both male and female. As we all do, we embody and possess male and female qualities. Nobody is purely one or the other. Nobody is one, pure, just entirely yin or yang. I don't buy that at all. And that's where the integration needs, the individuation, I suppose, as Carl Jung put it, is so critical that the yoga that we practice and we manage to achieve at some level comes into being. So, but yeah, he's said to be the earthly manifestation, Chinrezig. Also, the female embodiment of, or rather quality, is Amitabha, or why is it escaping me now? It'll come to me in a second here, but Namo Amitabha Kwan Sayum. There we go, Kwan Sayum, Kuan Yin. See, Kwan Sayum Bosai. So that's there Dalai Lama, big hitter, the Lama. See out there, Caddyshack. Just found that in the lead up to the show. He's never even seen the movie. That's such a shame. I can't believe it. Is he like philosophically opposed to watching this, or even just the scene? I mean, just, you don't have to. You can forget about exposing him to the dope smoking, that thing with Carl Spackler and Ty. As mind if I play through? It's like, I'm just cleaning up here. You got a pool. You drive by sometimes. Like, I got a pool. I actually got a pond out back. I think a pond for you, I think, would be a little better. Yeah. He hauls off and whacks one. Big hitter at the lawn. So that scene, it's great. And Rodney Dangerfield, the whole thing. But oh god. Anyways, I'm in hysterics right now. This is too much. So. The analogy, and then let's not forget, Kuan Yin. So he's the earthly embodiment and manifestation. So the Tibetan tradition is, both male and female. Interestingly, very, I don't know, that's kind of an androgynous almost. But I'll do the analogy, but go ahead and I'll come back. Don't forget.
I get a lot of shit from people about that whole thing, about the masculine and the feminine, because like most people today, they go and they read the dictionary and they say, this is what male or masculine means, and this is what feminine means, and they don't understand that those two concepts go a whole lot farther than just being a man and a woman. You know what I mean? There's the masculine aspects that are in everything, and there's a feminine aspect that's within everything. Like you guys are talking about virtues. The virtues are the feminine aspect of that religion. Poetry is a feminine aspect, you know, and that's hard for a lot of people to comprehend. I learned a lot of that whenever I was messing around with Bob Dub and we were doing duality. That's the one thing that connects all of this craziness. If you can understand what's going on with the whole concept between duality and the masculine and the feminine, things start making a lot more sense.
In what regard exactly?
Okay,
how so?
The world is built on this construct that there's good and there's evil, and they don't understand. They don't understand that that's not the case.
I've got something to add to that.
There's both good. They work complementary to one another.
Well, let me just say though, briefly interject that, because it's got to get this out there. Then from the Buddhist perspective, I had one of my teachers lay this on me back in the day. It's the Judeo-Christian, if you can even say that, isn't that kind of, people are having problems with that these days as well. They should, thinking Judeo-Christian, Christian Zionism, pretty convenient, those terms, wouldn't you say? Pretty darn convenient, especially where we find ourselves currently with this full-blown anti-Semitic genocide in Gaza, and the big lies that we were warned of, with the rise of the Nazis and other major world powers and killing machines. But confusion versus clarity, as opposed to, or in comparison to, the Judeo-Christian perspective, which is good versus evil. It's from the Buddhist or Dharmic Eastern way of seeing things. It's more a question of mental confusion versus mental clarity. So in other words, if you're acting or manifesting in a clear way, there will be no problem. Everything will be fine and harmonious. But if you're confused and you embody or are promoting and projecting aggression, hatred, ignorance, if that's what's underpinning your motives or your actions, or lust and desire, any of those at underpinning, once again, your actions and your where you're coming from in this world, that there's problems will inevitably arise. Someone's going to suffer. You're going to make some people hurt, starting with yourself, probably.
Yeah.
It's just so. Anyways, so the analogy, though, if I can get it out there, and this is the Greco-Buddhist tradition, though, that we've referenced multiple times now, trying to encourage people to get more engaged and researching on their own, of course. But both Socrates and the Buddha were approached by musicians, different times, different places. The Buddha preceded Socrates by 150, 200 years, maybe. But the analogy was the same. They were approached by musicians You can find these stories out there yourselves. You look into it, folks. And they asked them, how is it that one, in the case of Socrates, how is one can achieve eudaimonia, happiness, in other words, the good demon within. Whereas in the Buddha, the question was, how do we achieve enlightenment? That's the end goal, I guess, essentially, right? Enlightenment. It's actually, happiness or making friends with yourself, but ultimately, even beyond that, transcendence from the wheel of rebirth. Unless, of course, you're a bodhisattva, and then you take the bodhisattva vow, even when you're in the, what Sonia refers to, I guess, as the astral realm or celestial realms. I'm not sure what to make of all that, but it is what it is. We look down on the world and all these little sentient beings, and just we take pity on them. And as with Christ, there's many bodhisattvas. Basically, we all contain that potential. Is how the story goes. But with Socrates himself, eudaimonia, the Buddha, several hundred years prior, enlightenment, both were musicians asking the same question. What the Buddha said is like, you're a musician, you should know these things, shouldn't you? What do you do when your string is tied too tight? What do you do when it's tight, tightened, it's too loose and slack? Neither of those sounds are pleasing to the ear. So clearly what you need to do is find the tone that is pleasant to the ear, whether it's A440 or, as some talk about these days, what is it, 432, the vibrational frequency, the hertz, I guess, or what have you, however it's measured. But they were approached by both by musicians, different times, different places, asking the same question and then providing the same answer. Mm-hmm. Like, that to me is like, whoa. It's like, okay, is that just a coincidence or what? And so this for me was an indication or affirmation of the perennial philosophy, I think is what Aldous Huxley called it. Robert Morningstar was I think he got a kick out of the way that I brought that up at one point along the way back last year sometime, I guess, and he hadn't heard that expression in a long time. Wouldn't go so far as to say he was impressed, but that he was like, oh, interesting, yeah, perennial philosophy. So, gentlemen, we've only got a few minutes here. Let's, I've been doing most of the talking, and I will check out the talking points, as it were. But any questions for me or any further thoughts? What would you, one thing or a couple things that you'd like to?
We were just discussing that. You know what it made me think of? Mm-hmm. In the Christian tradition, there's a thing that says that it's not a sin what goes into your mouth, it's what comes out of your mouth.
Right.
And I had to learn that, like, the world teaches you that it's mind over matter, which is correct, but the thing or mind over emotion, but what people fail to realize is you have to learn how to think on emotional levels. Now, when you start feeling angry, you start feeling frustrated and hateful, you need to recognize that you're feeling that and stop it before it happens, because it's not a sin feeling those emotions, but when you start spilling it out into the world, that's when it becomes something that's sinful.
Yeah. That's what.
And I was going to get back to the point of where you were talking about Christian reincarnation. Well, reincarnation in the Christian tradition goes when everything is done, all the apocalypse is over, you're born again, you're risen. So you are in fact going to reincarnate into either the heaven or the hell.
That goes back to ancient Egypt, that belief, doesn't it?
Yeah, kind of. Yep.
The whole thing of the end, you know, what is it? The end times. Oh, bloody hell. There's a whole... It'd be good to have Yvonne on board here because he could provide the $10.
Well, you know, well, synagogue also in the Jewish...
Satan.
You know, there's... No, sin. Okay?
Yeah.
Sin was the moon god.
Correct.
Right.
Okay?
But from out of where? Out of Egyptian tradition?
Yeah, out of the... out of one of the cults out of Egypt.
Okay.
All right. Then later, when Moses came along, he changed it to sun worship.
Okay, hang on a second. We'll keep taking a look at what you're unpacking here for us. But before we do that, give a big shout out to I'm Not Here, who actually is, but we're not going to let everyone know that's the case. Thanks for your comment. I'm Not Here. He says, it does not say sin, it says defile. So it says, I don't think, but did Jesus speak English or did he write that? I didn't write.
That's a pretty sophisticated word.
Yeah. But sin, you know what sin really means, though, if you look at it, apparently? It's real simple. Just like karma. Karma means action. Sin, to miss the mark. Think of yourself as an archer. I'm using words right now. How do you find them? Are they pleasing to the ear? Are they annoying? Is the host being a jerk? Is he providing comedic values, some entertainment, information? Like, you know, is he on the mark or not? Is he you know? So it's all very subjective in that sense too. But also then actions that we take, missing the mark. So, ooh, shouldn't be doing that, should we? That's going to lead to some problems, some suffering. You know,
I mean,
and then
defile sounds like a translation.
More subtle. Yeah. I'm a little defile. Like, okay.
But it could also mean a corruption as well.
Yeah. And you know what? The Dead Sea Scrolls, I think I read this. Look into it, folks, if you're so inclined. Sin, literally to spill your seed upon the ground.
Oh, that's good. That's Sumerian.
Well, okay. Now we're taking. So that's one. Of course, that's a sin. You're spilling your seed. Now, but it could be blood, could it not? But it also could be semen.
Well, Sumerians had a tradition where when you had nasty thoughts, you should go to the river and you should spill your junk into the water.
He didn't have a wife or what?
No, I mean, if you had impure thoughts that were...
What, and you're married or single or what? What do you mean?
It didn't matter. You can have impure thoughts when you're married too.
What do you mean, like impure? Like cheating, adultery?
Anything. Like if it's something that pertains to sex.
Your wife is beautiful, but that's natural, isn't it? Come on.
Tell you what, they were pretty weird back then. They didn't.
Yeah. Okay.
You know,
well,
you didn't let women in your family walk the streets alone. I'll put it to you that way.
No, and that's one thing that I would agree. The Muslims, they have it right in some ways. They take it to an extreme, but yeah, you've got to be. If anytime you find a man with a woman under the same roof, you're looking for trouble. And so you better hope that they're married, you know, because if it's your wife and one of your friends or someone that you regard as a best friend, how many times have we heard that? Time and again, and just it's caused so many problems, so much heartbreak, led to jail sentences, divorce, the worst, most vicious. Lawyers love this sort of thing, of course, because it just feeds their industry. I mean, if there wasn't strife and suffering in the world, conflict and upheaval, just think of how they'd be doing, you know, their bottom line. Not so well.
Also, look at it as
like drug addiction, illicit drugs, people addicted to drugs too.
You have a beautiful woman walking down the street alone back in those days, and then, you know, some guy wants to take and, you know, do something that's bad, you know, like rape her. that kind of stuff happened too. You know what I mean? It's like you couldn't allow women in your family to walk alone because they needed protection.
Well, yeah,
too.
yeah, right, exactly. Let me just get into the comments here. I'm not there adding to this. Something that is not reincarnation. Born again is the spirit of God in you. Okay, well, you could look at it that way, I suppose. Are we not being born again every moment? I mean, are we the same people that we are now as when we started this live stream? Are we the same person that we are now as when we got up this morning? Clearly,
good question.
Well, we're not. It's not. It's a rhetorical question, and if you think about it, people aren't too retarded about the whole thing. You know, it kind of answers itself, doesn't it? And you can look at that both on a spiritual, psycho-spiritual level, but also the way that it's science is proved. You know, we got to trust the science. You know, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But in all seriousness, like the cells that are dying and being reborn right now, here and now, as we age every day. And was it the telomeres? Is that what they're known as? They begin to decay or defile. We're only here for so long, and that's it. Life is out, brief, candle. So, yeah, enjoy every sandwich. But, well, reincarnation. Well, you know, we're living proof of reincarnation, as far as I'm circumcised.
I'll tell you one thing. I was able to listen to Vicky Voss talk on Mark's show, and she said something that was so cool to all of us about her husband, about chemical plumes, okay? And the plumes that are released from a body when they're dead, and they're released into the earth, into the soils, okay? Now, from his research, because he's done this stuff for years. He did research on this, and he actually did the research and discovered that chemical plumes are released from the body when they decompose, and it affects the environment.
Is her husband an embalmer or mortician? Is that right?
He did forensic science.
Oh.
Yeah, he does forensic science, and he's done it for so many years, and he's worked for I believe the NSA, and you know,
okay.
What's that place out of in
Quantico.
Quantico.
Yeah. He actually worked out of Quantico for a long time.
Look, we've only got a few minutes here, guys. We got to wrap it up. It's been, and I really thank everyone's support, both yourself, Roger, and Mark, courtesy of Rodriguez Productions. Zane Ivey dropping into the conversation here at the tail end. We did address the whole rainbow body business, Zane, so you might be curious in, taking a look at what we archived earlier with the first part of the show. You might have more to add to that, of course. So, corruption is, I'm not here, he likes a little better, is what he says, the term corruption. And the question is, well, how do we define that? But anyways, Zane asking, how old is the Dalai Lama? He's 90. Read the show description, Zane. Jesus. Joey Boomer, the Dalai Oompa Loompa. Yeah, good old Caddyshack reference. Everyone would live in the river then, says I'm not here. Yeah, I mean,
I agree.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. We're filled with that. We got to get a handle. That's one of the Buddhist teachings is deal with this. And thank God with...
get a handle.
Yeah, okay, let's not go there. Yeah.
Well,
but
apparently...
Libido, thank God, in age. Tapering off. It's great. I thank you, Jesus, for so now I don't have to touch oneself and defile oneself in a unholy way. Save that for the wife. Go ahead.
Yeah. Anyways, what I was going to say is when it talks about corruption, the first time someone was corruption was the snake. The snake the serpent in the Garden of Eden
snake venom. That's right.
No, corrupted Eve
snake
into
venom.
taking the tree of life and tree of knowledge, and that's the first time they talked about that.
Robert Morningstar.
And then God cursed. Then God cursed the serpent to crawl on its belly.
Get Morningstar on your show and ask him to address those issues directly, and it will. He'll add some. I think a little.
I've been trying to get him, but hosts on my side, or
I'll light a fire under his.
I've had a host that's been out because of surgery. So
okay.
Yeah, and I don't like running her show. I'll just run it ad hoc for her.
Vixen's Vault
to fill in. Yep. And Nancy Planetta, the Vixen's
we
Vault.
would love like cross-pollination.
Yeah.
When we get back from Canada, the plan is to crank things up here a little more and more cross-pollination, inviting your people on board here, because you've been helping us out immensely, and it's only right that we do what we can.
I heard you're supposed to have Jack
Carey, correct?
Yeah.
He's
Jack's one of my hosts as well. Jack and Nancy both are on Wednesday nights for me. So and then John Galt.
Already.
We don't know his real name.
Who is John Galt?
From Censorship Sucks. He's an anon. All right. That's all I'll say.
Isn't that Atlas Shrugged? Atlas, who is John Galt? Oh, by the way, look at there. Who's this Fox? Who's that Fox host there? He asked the Dalai Lama. So, have you ever seen Caddyshack? What do you think? Is that the Dalai Lama? Go. I haven't seen the clip. I've got to track it down. Brett Baer, is that his name? Apparently, it was a pretty uncomfortable exchange. Just that one part of the interview. I'm not sure how the rest of it went, but his 80th year birthday was held in look, he apologized. And you know what his policy is? As soon as you screw up, apologize right away. Don't wait, is what he says. And there's some things where I don't necessarily agree with him, as certain politics and being used essentially, and playing the part of a, dare I say, useful idiot or stooge. I don't mean to be too disrespectful, obviously, but saying it the way I see it, unfortunately. And I do love the Dalai Lama. Who could? I mean, he's a lovable person, affable. As we've touched on several times here. Now you take the good with the bad, and he's got that major charm offensive and plus 10 charisma. His charisma's off the charts, So the big hitter, the Lama. Hopefully he'll get a chance to see Caddyshack, or at least that one particular scene before he passes away. I think it was a major coup for the Tibetan community in exile to have Caddyshack incorporate that into their film, because it really helped to not just. I said, "Hey Lama, have a little something for the effort," and he says, "Oh, there won't be any money, but when you die on your deathbed, you will receive total consciousness." So I got that going for me. That bloody gopher, I tell ya. Yeah, they never did get the gopher in the end. One of the worst sequel remakes in film history. Well, there we go. Maybe he did. Maybe he did get the punchline. So, oh god. And that's the thing I often, talk about with certain students and people that come into conversation with. If Christ and Buddha were out walking along the same road, this is an example. We'll leave Muhammad out of the picture for now. He the kind of swords, and just a little different story. We'll leave that aside for now without getting too complicated. Although I must say, like the Dalai Lama, very skillful and diplomatic the way that he's addressed the whole Islamic issue. Very, very, very understanding, very diplomatic and sensitive, because he knows many Muslims, from what I understand, and he's able to relate to their humanity. That's really what he does best, first and foremost. Once again, treating them as old friends, even though in this life it may be the first time that he's met them. So, where the hell were we going with this now? This is why the co-hosts are so critical. We're going to cap this off with a really great point. Oh dear God! Oh yes, geez, not that old yet. Oh God, I need more ginkgo. Jesus and Buddha walking along the same road. Picture this. What do you think would happen? Fisticuffs, come to blows, kind of turn their noses up to one another, rudely push the other aside, come to blows, or something a little different perhaps. Jesus and Buddha walking along the same road. I might be wrong, but my sense is they would quite possibly sit down and break bread. This could be the crossroads, the meeting of two minds, as the Tibetans put it. Sit down, break bread, enjoy a little repast and conversation. A lot of people talk about meeting Christ in their NDE, near-death experience testimonies. Nobody to this point that I'm aware of claims to have come into contact or seen the Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, Sakyamuni is what they call him here, once again via South Korea. Someone I believe was a Sokdien, and that's why Prince Shotoku, when he left Korea, went to Japan and was a leader of the Soka clan. If people are interested in connecting those dots, researching it a little more than the small amount I've managed to cover and to infer, as it were. Sogdian, the Silk Roads, the Han Dynasty of China, very critical. And the cultural exchange. I never finished an earlier point speaking of Buddhism as it made its way across the Silk Roads to China, meeting with the Taoists. What did the Taoists say? Well, they said, well, this is kind of like our philosophy, really, what you're talking about here. And they ended up matching concepts. It's called Koi. My pronunciation, as best I can manage the pronunciation. Koi. Ko. Koi. Ko as in together. Koi. We. Together of. We in Korean is of. So that ko could be a bit of a clue or a hint. A lot of similarities can be found, folks. Trust me. Well, then again, don't trust me. Actually, look into it yourselves. Don't believe me. Look into it for yourselves. Even the Buddha himself, he said, don't trust me. Don't believe me. Look into it for yourselves. Test this. Assay what I have to share with you here, as you would assay or test gold or some precious substance. Check it out. Total BS, or what do you reckon? Take a close look. So, yeah, matching concepts, that was a big deal and phenomenon throughout the course of the Silk Road era, the Han Dynasty, and beyond. Really, ocean of wisdom. Yeah, Tenzin Gyatso, the 14th Dalai Lama. Started to panic today. I came across news story that had falsely attributed him as being the 15th Dalai Lama, I immediately thought, did I just make a mistake with the show that we're promoting here? But yeah, we've got it right, the 14th Dalai Lama. Oh, and by the way, yeah, happy 4th of July, people. It's interesting. I wasn't sure if I should add this to the... Just came across this in the lead up to the show, actually, over on minds.com. But Tibet, this is, you gotta think, for like geopolitical reasons or what have you, sort of cozied up a little bit to the Third Reich during the Second World War. Roger mentioned Japan's intrusions into onto the plateau, and how extensive that was. I don't know. It'd be, now you just piqued my curiosity. I'd like to definitely look into it. The land of snow lions, is that what they call it? Sometimes known as so. But and a Yeti too, I tell you, huh? Isn't that something? Might there actually be a Yeti or two out there roaming the Himalayas? Certainly are stories, just as what we've heard via other parts of the world, west coast of the Americas and beyond, with the Bigfoot or the Sasquatch is the native term, as it's more commonly known. So, all right, did we cover everything here? I think we pretty much did. No further talking points. Oh, by the way, yes, check out the chat end of things. We did add the link to the Tibetan Buddhism group that we help to oversee. Actually, there's quite a few people that are members and active. Just looking for the URL itself right now. Tibetan Buddhist World is, I guess, the sub URL. So just Tibetan Buddhism and Tibetan Buddhist World. It's a really active group, and probably more active today now more than ever. Not sure what it was 10 years ago when His Holiness celebrated his 80th birthday, something I kind of quickly passed over as memory serves now without really fleshing out, but that was a big deal. Los Angeles, I think, and I didn't really follow things all that closely myself, but it was what it was, and all for a good cause, of course. So hashtag Free Tibet. We actually had a band back in the day called Free Tibet. Can you believe that? That was one of our rock bands that we put together. Gigged around a little bit via Vancouver Island. Had some fun in a few of the clubs down there and got a few people's attention, but just never really pursued it to the point that perhaps we should have. So then again, we're pretty happy here as it is these days. Mostly in a very creative phase of our lives as far as the songwriting goes. So that's good to see. Really, just you could feel it building up. You could feel the energy building up, ready to burst. Hopefully that's not too much of a sin, of course. And creative energies, some might say juices, bursting, coming forth, and just really managing to flow quite nicely. For the longest time, very much there's some real blockage there for sure. It took the likes of people like Van Morrison, and yeah, I find him the most inspiring, really, of all the major artists. Springsteen back in the day, Neil Young, Dylan, but there's something about Van Morrison, especially during the whole Corona apocalypse, and the way he took a stand, a principled stand. And I believe history will prove him right. This is one criticism I do have of his Holiness. That I would imagine he would probably agree that he sometimes makes mistakes. Hopefully, yeah, he's apologized for certain things in the past, making mistakes. But I think that's one clear example, really, where he really got played big time. He didn't know enough about the issue. He needed to be more clearly informed and aware. Experimental kill shots in the Club of Rome, the Rockefellers. The whole phony green agenda. Pollution is one thing we can all agree on, surely. But to demonize the carbon molecule, something that's only, when it boils right down to it, 0.006% of our entire atmosphere, and you're going to try to demonize that? Why don't we just focus on genuine, bona fide, raw pollution, sewage, and clear toxicity. Anyways, I think we could maybe recap. Let's recap the introduction, and then we'll call it a day. So just for those of you out there listening who are not aware, His Holiness Tenzin Gyatso, the 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet, was born July 6th, 1935. 2 years younger than Willie Nelson, I guess, is what we're looking at there. How about that? Whether an undying admirer or not, few will deny he's clearly led an exceptional life. Over the course of his now 90 years, he's influenced the world in a whole variety of areas: spiritual leadership, a Nobel Peace Prize, advocacy for Tibetan rights, promotion of human values, cultural preservation, education initiatives, scientific engagement, books and teachings. These achievements reflect his lifelong commitment to promoting peace, compassion, and coexistence in a world more often ruled by conflict, confusion, and strife. However, his legacy has not been without its shortcomings. While singing the man's praises, we will therefore equally be taking him to task, and I think that's what we've done here to the best of our abilities in some respects. Not to the extreme the CCP have proven themselves to be. That's the Chinese Communist Party. These days, more like the Chinese Capitalist Party. But critical nonetheless. Political Marxism, COVID hysteria, the Club of Rome's phony green agenda, sexual scandals involving high-profile teachers, and most recently a 2023 underage tongue-sucking incident done in secret, hiding, behind closed doors? No, seen around the world. So give him a bit of a break there, really. If only because of his long-standing, lifelong playful nature, and number two, the tongue, as we covered here earlier, made clear that there's a reason that Tibetans stick out their tongues when they meet people. It's to demonstrate that they are not the former, was it King Gazar? Was that his name? Someone could maybe fact check this for us, but this terrible, really tyrannical, awful king who ended up getting poisoned. There's some instant karma for you. And his tongue turned really black as a result, and he was dead. So ever since that time, Tibetans have stuck their tongues out in order to demonstrate that they themselves are not the reincarnation of this former tyrant. So there are clearly many sides to the man, the burden of his title, and what it means to be widely seen as the living embodiment of the Buddha. If only each of us could walk just a mile in his saintly 90-year-old shoes. Try that. Try that one on for size, folks. Think about that. Put yourself in his shoes. Walk just a mile. Not a whole lifetime, but just a mile. So, all right. Well, a lot more we could get into here, but I think that's a pretty decent place and way of capping things off. Thank you so much to everyone who did connect with us, join in, drop by, and show an interest in maybe learning a little bit more about the Dalai Lama, Tibetan Buddhism, and the like. You know, both good, bad, and otherwise. We'll continue the conversation another time. The plan, as always, of course, is to return this coming Tuesday night with the news. 8 p.m. West Coast of the Americas, 11 out on the East. Before we cut away here, though, we are going to just give a quick rundown, revisitation of the comments that we have coming our way via the Peanut Gallery. Have you read the Quran? It's so off the mark of any reality. Many of the hadiths are vile as well. Yeah, there's one just the other day that I heard, the interpretation. I forget the guy's channel. He's quite well known there, quite prolific, very, very, with it. He knows his stuff. Clearly, talking about Muhammad in his one hadith, which I guess what they're like commentaries or tracks that were later added on as stories in support of Muhammad and the Quran. But he was out in the desert all night with these comely, tall, strong, foreign men, dark in complexion, riding him all night. And he had another male companion with him. He drew a line in the sand. He said, "You stay here. Do not come here. Terrible things will come to you. Don't pass this line." And went on. And with these fellows, just, I don't know, people can maybe, I hope don't have to draw too much of a picture for listeners here, but so the story goes, yeah, they were riding him all night, and he came back kind of walking a little more wobbly in the morning than when he left earlier the previous evening. So why that was, we'll let you decipher. Thanks for the support, Sonia. Appreciate it. Down by the river's edge. I'm not sure what that's a reference to. Roger. There can only be one truth. There can be shadows of truth that seem right to a man, but still only one can be true. And let's not forget, what did Pilate so famously ask Christ? Quod est veritas? I think it was, Pilate asking Christ, what is truth? Yeah, that's a good question, isn't it? So, do you actually have a holiness other than yourself? No, I'm not asking. I'm a girl. I don't understand what that means exactly, Sonia. But And there, 0.04 is what I'm Not Here says as far as the carbon levels. It's just ridiculously minuscule. I thought it was so much more significant, but apparently it's not. Z is a Mason, if you did not know. No, it's not surprising, though. So, and I wonder if the Dalai Lama is too. I've heard that this honorary 360th degree, that's right, full circle, folks, don't be fooled into thinking there's only 32 or 33 degrees to the Masonic story and picture. An esoteric mystery school. How would you describe Freemasonry exactly? But bottom line is what it boils down to is it really is it's a kind of crypto Judaism. That's one of the big secrets that the kind of the gullible, dumbed down, the Gentile goy are never informed of. So the story goes. But yeah, honorary 360th degree conferred, rights of Mizraim, and I'm not sure. It's just the way that all these secret branches and lodges have evolved over the years. It's quite something. So, oh, I have another degree upon me. Isn't that special? But things really do change, I guess, after the 32nd or 33rd degree for many people. And that's where often a big decision has to be made. A lot of times people will not take that 33rd degree for certain reasons. So, anyways, my dad was approached back in the day. I had many Mason friends growing up. He did. And so the story goes, but no. It's kind of like Scientology. I think they tried to recruit him as well, the bloody Scientologists. It's like, ooh, someone with a little bit of money. Not a total pauper necessarily, so yeah, it's like Elvis, just Priscilla showing interest in Scientology. It's like they're just after me for my GD money. Don't be so naive. Come on. What are you thinking? That's what he's quoted as on the record as having said. Good old Elvis. Humans are incapable of understanding the truth. It's beyond our comprehension. Yes, well, maybe we should stop trying so hard then. Ever stop to think about that? Calm, abiding, meditation, grounding, lotus position. Resting, calm, abiding. Quiet the mind. Shh. We may have an interpretation of what the truth is. It's just interpretation. Da, 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 da. As an example, if Christ is true, then all other paths are not true. Says, I'm not here. Okay. We hear that all the time, don't we? It's interesting rhetoric. The axis mundi has more than truth, or more truth rather than all those other beliefs. I'm not sure what is that? Something of the world, Roger? I have to hustle up there with the comments. We're just scrolling down. So, axis mundi, something of the world. Mystical Judaism, maybe is what I'm not here is referencing in response to the Masonic comments. Worship of Lucifer, Ban Shihar. That's like almost like Zohar or something, isn't it? Very esoteric. Jabulon, Jehovah, Baal, and Osiris. Ever seen a picture of Jabulon? Look it up, folks. It's crazy. It's almost like Xenu or something, you know, the way that they hoodwink so many people. The Scientologists is, I mean, religions do that with all too often. Just the followers are hoodwinked. You know, it's the real hearts and minds, people, hearts and minds. So, but the Scientologists, yeah, the science fiction author L. Ron Hubbard and Lord Xenu. Like, what? That's their version of Jabberlawn, I guess. Pulling back the curtain. Ta-da! Ooh. But Children of Lamech and the Old Chargers, not sure what that refers to exactly, Roger. It has Euclid worship too. Oh, Pythagoras, maybe. Is that right? The Freemasonic tradition. So, sex magic. Da-da-da. Once again, I will ask you the question quite plainly and simply. How is sex not magic? And by the way, it's interesting too, because most channels, because we are live streaming through that anytime they, it's like half of what we have to say has to be censored. Words like sex or drugs or rock and roll. It's just crazy. I don't want to demonetize. Well, we don't have to worry, do we? We have bigger, other things to be concerned about, I suppose. But just waiting for the next part to come along because you did something that they decided. I mean, they can come up with any reason they want. Like they could find something in the show that we did today. It's like, ooh, can't have that. Shut it down. So, but we don't have to be worried about being demonetized because we never qualified in the first place. We managed once again to work ourselves up to 1,000 subscribers, and that's as far as it went, folks. Soon thereafter, they informed us that we just didn't really seem to have what it took in the eyes of YouTube as far as being worthy of any qualification for their monetization program, as it were. That's one of the reasons we really depend on you, the listeners, to reach out, help, support us. A lot of attaboys. I mean, if we had $1 for every attaboy that we managed to generate over the years, we probably could retire at this stage. But the PayPal, folks, Pirate One Radio at protonmail.com. Biggest donation that we ever had, and I tell you that managed to add a lot of wind to our sails, and it went to toward good ends, obviously. Helping people out, basically, that were reaching out to us. So very much appreciate the $500 donation. Came to us right on the heels of it was a few years ago, as a matter of fact, one of our Operation Secret Santa campaigns. Helped to cover some of the bills here as well, but more than anything, it's gone toward supporting others who've reached out to us in their darkest hour, times of need. Hey, and let's not forget, in case you missed it the first time around, first step on the path to wisdom in the Buddhist tradition, not complicated, it's generosity. What is the final step on the path to wisdom? It's wisdom. What's the leading cause of death in all the world? Some people will say cancer, heart attacks, car crashes, food poisoning, you name it, stress. Those are all symptoms, people. As far as I can tell, they're all symptoms. The leading cause of death in all of the world is birth. If we hadn't have been born, we'd never have to die. We never came into this world, we'd never have to leave it. All things materially composite, made up of just this endless various components and molecules, odds and ends. Ultimately, everything finds itself in a state of decomposition. So, anyways, everybody, you have yourselves a great weekend. Get back to us via our email, stay in touch through Facebook, Minds, Discord. Yeah, we're back on Discord now. We're back on X. Don't ask me how it happened. It's a miracle. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. So, hashtag good karma. We do appreciate it. Once one thinks they are wise, they are not. That is correct. Yes. One who thinks, so one who speaks does not know. One who knows does not speak. Whoopsie. So, is a wise man. No, yeah, is a fool who thinks he's a wise man. A wise man who knows he's the fool. Good old adages, I guess, is in truth bombs. Nuggets of truth. So, keep on digging, folks. Keep on mining. We'll be back Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the West Coast. That is the plan here, at least. And 11 out on the East. So, covering all the latest news items of the week. July 4th has been a big deal for a lot of people. So, it's good to, good to take time to step back and celebrate and, make the most of the holiday kind of time off, free time that we have on our hands, spend quality-wise with friends, family, and relations. Until we meet again via these high, often all too intrepid digital seas. I'm your host, as always, the Robin Hood's Chief Communications Officer, Jaffe Ryder, reminding you that, yes, there will be one final Black Sabbath reunion coming up here shortly via Birmingham. Just looking at the slideshow. And in addition to all of this, doesn't that look like Weekend at Ozzy's? It doesn't even look real, man. Oh, poor bastard. Oh, jeez. Well, he's having a good time, whatever the case. So, once again, on behalf of Captain Long John Sinclair and all the rest of the crew here down Skullport Harbor, till we meet again via these high, often all too intrepid digital seas, I'm your host, as always, ship's Chief Communications Officer, Jaffe Ryder, reminding you, keep your ear to the ground and eyes to the sky. Songbul Haseo.
I know. There we be. Having carefully looked over each of our navigation panel instruments, checking every level, switch, dial, cable, knob, and pulley, by all accounts and indications, we indeed see it's time once again to drop anchor inside Mystic Bay, draw an end to yet another week of World Pirate Radio Live. Remember, if you're looking for a little more animated online action,
Keep in mind, we've likely got yet another great free-flowing Rogues Gallery after show
coming up for the next hour in one of our more premium, exclusive, and remote digital underground online pirate hideaways. Also, if you yourself have a new,
novel, intriguing, or otherwise underreported idea, unique individual, or pressing item in mind, be sure to either drop us a line directly over on WPRPN.com or fire us a quick email
via Pirate One Radio at protonmail.com.
We're always open to exploring fresh creative suggestions, intriguing guest ideas, cutting-edge discussion topics, and captivating themes.
Remember, WPRPN.com member site subdomain links are also always available.
Great for artists, musicians, podcasters, bloggers, social media personalities,
or pretty much just any old land lover
looking to boost their online visibility, presence, and reach.
Basic personal profile accounts can be launched for just $60 per year.
Staking your claim now helps not only strengthen you and the network, we're also looking out for the little guy. That's right, folks. As much as half of all WPRPN's profits are redirected right back into the hands of the people who really need it most. Community charity. After all, we are the Robin Hood.
You can further embark on your own personal pirate journey by either liking, sharing,
commenting on, subscribing to, or just following us via virtually any mainstream social media platform, including Twitter, Facebook,
Gab,
or Minds.com. So don't forget to become engaged. Until we meet again out on the high digital seas. I'm your host as always, the ship's Chief Communications Officer, Jaffe Ryder. Tally-ho.